Giants jersey. Hi, Rich here with the Stonebridge Photography Club Workshop, and Mario in a recent one showed you how to use a mat cutter, a simple mat cutter. Today we're going to take a look at a little bit more elaborate one. Now if you remember, this is the type of cutter that he used. It was simple, and you measured out and used this to cut either a straight edge or the mat. Well, we're going to take it up another level now, and this is a more commercial type mat cutter, and as you can see, it comes with the simple mat cutter with some guides on the end to guide it for the cutting. It has a long straight cutter attachment, and as we look at this, it has a mat guide, a movable mat guide, and a guide for cutting, main guide. So let's take a look, see how it works. First thing we're going to do is we're going to cut a mounting board, just straight cuts. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a larger piece of mat board and cut it down to the size we want. And today we want to use an 11 by 14. So we measure off 14 and 11 the other way. And draw lines. Now we can either use this as a backing board or as the beginning part of a mat where we'll cut the window inside. So that's 11. We got 11 and we needed 14. Hold it for a sec. And we've measured 14 down this way. Okay, now let's bring the cutter back.
Wait. Go.
When you're cutting straight edges, you take the mat guide off. Just unscrew it and lift it off. And we slide the paper under the guide. The cutter, this is for straight cutting. It has a straight blade and guides that fit on the rail, just like this. When using this cutter, you pull. It's lined up. You just simply slide it along, and there's your straight cut. Turn it around. And there you have it. Simple, easy, straight cuts. And then the size is 11 by 14 that we wanted. The next step that we want to do is make a mat, a window mat, to put over the picture inside the frame. So what we have is an 11 by 14 picture. We want to make a mat to go over it. And ultimately, it's going to look like this. This is the mat, and then it'll go in the frame. And that's what your finished picture is going to look like. Now, you can go out to the art supply store and buy pre-cut mats. However, they can get pricey, and if you have something that's not a normally stock size, you'd want to cut your own. So that's what we're going to do today. We have our board that's 16 by 20. We want to cut out an 11 by 14 opening to fit our picture. Now remember, we're going to cut it a little bit smaller. We're going to take 1/4 of an inch off each end, each side, and then
The opening.
Then the opening will be exactly as we want it. Now, when you're cutting a board, you always cut on the back side, the bad side, because this is going to cut a bevel, and you want the bevel to come in the right way. So, we have our board. If it's If we're looking for 11 by 14, shrunk down, we're looking at 10.5 by 13.5, so we need to take off 2 3/4 inches from the short side and 3 1/4 inches from the long side. So we'll measure that. 3 1/4, 3 1/4, and the other way it will be 2 3/4. 2 3/4. Okay. Let's draw those lines. And we'll draw it all the way out to the end of the board because we're going to use those guidelines. We're ready to go. This is what we're cutting out. And as a double check, we'll measure the inside. It should be 10.5 by 13.5. It is 13.5 by 10.5. Perfect. We're ready to start cutting.
Go.
We're ready to cut the window out. So we've drawn our lines. This is the area we're going to cut out. Slip this under the cutting guide. This is a mat guide. That's an adjustable mat guide, which has a scale on it. It's key that you draw it and make sure your lines are straight rather than depend on this. We'll just use this to hold the board as we're cutting it to keep it straight. So we see it's lined up. Once again, this cutter is spring-loaded. Using your thumb, you push the blade down. Let go and the spring comes up.
Start from here. Rich, start from there.
Okay. It fits in the groove. And if you look on the front, you'll see there's a line. You line that up with your cross line because this is where the cut is going to be. You don't want to go over that. Push with your thumb and push. And stop when you reach the other line. We'll make the long cut now. Same way, put it on the rail. Push. Okay. Now I've made my 4 cuts. We take it out, it pops right out, and as we turn it over, we can see it has a nice bevel to it. And we're ready to frame it. And just as a note, the piece you cut out, don't throw away. You could always use that if you need to make a smaller mat. Like this one would fit perfectly in an 11 by 14 frame to make an 8 by 10 cutout. So keep the items, could come in handy later. All right, let's put it together and see what we came out with. So we have our frame. This is our newly made mat. Fits in perfectly. The picture goes in. Remember now that the mat is 1/4 inch smaller than the picture. So if there's any edging or border, it's hidden. And it looks like this.